What's up, everyone? It's Roger and Abe here from DisKingdom.com with the episode number 88 of the Disney Infinity and Beyond podcast. And on this week's show, we're going to be discussing the Marvel Battlegrounds playset because I finally got around to getting it. And we're going to go through this week's Disney Infinity news. Not that there's a huge amount of it, so let's kick straight off. So, Abe, how's your week been?
Oh, it was good. It was good. How about yours?
Yeah, been really good. It's been a very, for me as a sort of gaming side of things, lots and lots to do this week. Been a great week with for finally getting hold of Marvel Battlegrounds just before the Easter break. We had the new Star Wars Battlefront DLC come out last week.
Yeah, that's all I've been playing.
Yeah, and then Day of the Tentacle also got re-released as well. So I spent hours playing that as well on the Vita. So it's been a very sort of great week for I've been jumping between 3 different games all week. So it's been quite a lot of fun actually. I've been really enjoying this week. Lots of stuff to do. But this one's obviously Marvel Battlegrounds. So finally on sort of Thursday, Friday, the UK got the release, and the rest of Europe and Australasia got the release of Marvel Battlegrounds. So it's finally able to pick that one up. And gotta admit, gonna jump straight into kind of going through, I think, my views on this one, because Abe, you did it last week, but you had a lot longer now sort of playing the playset.
Mm-hmm.
How have you kind of felt in terms of maybe a week or sort of 2 weeks since you've kind of got it? Are you feeling any different about that playset?
It's just I'm not revisiting it much. There's I don't have to 3-star any missions or anything like that. There are some feats that I have to do, but the story is so short I can just replay it really fast. It's not like it's gonna bother me. Yeah, I honestly don't think I'm gonna be playing it much unless I have friends over and I'll be playing some brawling action. But other than that, I mean it's a fun playset.
Yeah. So. Well, because I had this after playing it. This was kind of the thing I was wondering. What's the long life of this playset going to be? Because, like we said, there's been lots of other stuff out this week that we've been playing, and we don't normally tend to have this when we have a new playset. Everyone tends to sort of, especially in the Infinity community, tends to buckle down for a few weeks and just kind of play the playset and get through. And I don't know. Obviously, there's been an extra week with the US release compared to us. It doesn't feel like this year, and I think, having played the playset now, I can see why. Because, I started to play the Marvel Battlegrounds story load, and you did say don't blink too much, you might miss some of it. And it literally, I think the training mode took me longer than the story mode did. I think from starting it up to finishing the end of the story and doing all the training, I was wait about 45, 50 minutes, if that, and I don't think I was really rushing through it. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of. It's like I knew everyone had been saying it, but I think it was that kind of thing. I think until you actually experience it, you maybe don't quite realize just this. Now, obviously, you got the challenges. Now, the challenges, I do think can add a few hours of entertainment. I'm probably only about halfway through the challenges at the minute. I've been messing about with like the sort of the versus mode and going through like the King of the Hill and going through the Royal Rumble or whatever they want to call it, and a few other ones. And it's definitely kind of like, I can really feel like what they've done is they've created almost like a completely different video game. If they released this video game, if you didn't have Disney Infinity, they could have released this without the toys, and it would have been a standalone $20, $30 video game, and it probably would have done quite well in terms of what it was. It almost feels like an entirely separate game, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. I mean, especially within Disney Infinite, it feels completely different. It feels unique. It's definitely made the characters feel differently than they do within the toy box, and that's great. And I think it is. But like I said, I think like longevity, there's not a lot in it. And I think it's not. Yeah,
I was gonna say the lack of online gameplay just makes it too short for you, because you just don't end up spending that much time on it, as opposed to, if you had a game like Smash Brothers where you can play online, you're gonna be playing it for hours and hours beyond belief, and it's just like this one, you need people over.
It's definitely feels like in that sort of the versus mode stuff, it's fun, but I mean, obviously you can whack up the level of difficulty to make it harder, because that's I mean, I've only been playing on basically default medium setting, while doing this. And I tend to like to do that at first with any game. I like to play it on its default setting, and if I find it really too easy, then maybe adjust it and stuff. But it definitely it's a lot of fun. I will admit it's a lot of fun. I love the effects. It feels like a separate video game. I love how they've used the power discs. I think the effects of when they come in are great. Grabbing them, the use of them feels really exciting, especially mainly during the story mode and stuff, because I wasn't messing around too much with the versus mode on that one. Mm-hmm. And then I love the fact of when you do a special move, you kind of get the big flashy image come up. And I think that all works really well. And I think it really makes the game feel a bit different, and it feels like its own little arcade game in its own self. And it's the kind of thing of like, I'm thinking, it's a really good playset. It's a lot of fun. They've done it really, really well. But there's just this nagging little thing of me going, it's like, you've done so much, but you really didn't quite go that extra step.
Right.
It doesn't feel like there's enough arenas. It doesn't feel like there's enough, like, I don't know. It's something, just can't quite put my finger on it. It's a lot of fun, and I think families are going to love it. I think kids are going to love playing this one if they've got families and they can sort of basically do a proper player versus player mode. I think that's great. But for me, like you say, within a week or two, I can't see myself jumping back into this once I've completed all the challenges and had a bit of a play around with all the figures and stuff. I don't know. It's a real shame. I'm like, it's good, but it could be a lot better.
No, yeah, definitely agree with you there. It's just the longevity, the replayability. It's just not there without the multiplayer online.
And also, it's been nearly 18 months probably plus since we last had a Marvel playset. It was August 2014 since we last had a Marvel playset. So it's been a long time coming, and it was almost like we've been waiting, nearly 2 years for this, and it's short. It's short.
Very lacking, yeah.
Especially they told us about Marvel Battlegrounds last May. They said a playset was coming. 10 months later, we get given this, and it's like, it's kind of disappointing in terms of how it's that thing of like, what they've done is really good and a lot of fun, but it's like, oh, come on, we needed a little bit more. We needed that little thing of needed more arenas, needed something a little bit more interesting to get you in. And like you said, I think online playing would have completely have changed this playset in an entirely thing, and would have kept people entertained for months.
Absolutely. It needed more. It definitely needed a lot more.
I like the fact that they've taken a risk and doing something totally different. I think that's great. I think the idea of it, the way they've executed the moves, or the way they've executed the screens, the way they've tried out different things, I really can't say how good that is. That really does feel like a fresh breath of air, or the way around, a breath of fresh air compared to the previous playsets. Because I found, for example, like Force Awakens was a bit like, this was a paint by numbers playset, whereas this feels like you guys took a risk, you did something different, you did something unique, and I like that. It does feel a little bit more like a expansion game than a playset. I don't think that's a bad. It's like, I really kind of feel like this is good. I love the idea that they're doing something different. I love the idea that they're extending the gameplay kind of things. I'd love to see a Star Wars version of this. I'd love to see just an all-out expansion game where anyone can join in and stuff. I think that would be really, really cool. So I definitely feel the scope for it. And I can definitely get behind the idea of them doing something completely different. And I really can't sort of say that enough, really. I'm really glad they have done something different than just doing the standard go fetch, go get this, go that, which is kind of the staple. But like Inside Out. Inside Out was a completely different playset. It felt different, like a different game. And I love the fact that Marvel Battlegrounds is that as well. It feels completely separate to the Star Wars and Inside Out playset. But it was too short. I'm glad in some ways that price tag for a lot of this playset has dropped since they initially announced it, because I think there's a difference, especially in the US, between a $35 playset and a $20 playset. I think $20 it's perfect. It's a great price because you get the figure and you get this play set and the amount of time you're getting. If it'd been $35, I'd been a lot more. It would have been much more disappointing for that price point.
Well, I mean, they have actually increased in price recently out here. I mean, I think there was a promotional price for it to be like $19.99. Now it's up to $29.99. So it's like, it's I don't know. It's definitely not worth a $30 buy.
No.
It's definitely worth $15. I think that's what I think.
Well, that's the thing. If I took away the figure aspect, and you gave me that as a video game, and you put that towards me, and you would be like, right, is that a £40 video game on its own? No, it's not. It's not got the depth of a £40 video game. Had it been an indie game of £13, £14, £15 for a separate game, completely independent, and I just paid, $15 for that video game on the PlayStation as a small little indie game or whatever, a small video game like Tron R or something like that, I would have been really excited. I would have thought that was a really good game, and that's how I feel. That's how I feel with this. Is it feels like one of those kind of like Tron Runner or Day of the Tentacle, something like that, where you're paying about £12, £13 and you're getting a really good game experience. But it's not The Witcher free. You're not paying the big full price game because it hasn't got that depth. But for a $15 video game, this is perfect. This is a lot of fun and it's got hours and hours of entertainment, cheaper than maybe watching a movie. So that's how I'm kind of putting this one in it. I think that's like a fair way of looking at it.
Yeah.
It's definitely. I think it's kind of this thing of
my stuff last week, so this is your this week.
But also, right, there's a couple of there's one major thing that kind of bugs me a little bit on this one. Right.
Okay.
So when you go into whichever mode you go into, you get the 4 trial coins. Well, not the trial coins. You get the 4 trial characters, right? That is essentially, to me, it's become the godsend because that is all I use. Because I've shared some pictures of me playing Marvel Battlegrounds for a couple of nights of me sat there with the stool literally covered in Marvel figures with all 30 of them out, sort of being used, and I'm switching between them. And I can tell you, as a kid, that might sound really, really exciting, and you get all your toys and you're moving them around and stuff. As an adult, it feels like one massive, just like, oh my god, really? It's like how much space you're using, how much fiffing and farting around you're having to do to play. I know it's Toys to Life category, and that's what this game's supposed to be. But when you load them in the first time, they should stay there. They should just be like you can put, because this game doesn't need the toys. Once you log in and put the figures on, you can start your session, put them all down, and put all your toys away. And that's it. And you don't need to actually use them in it's not like you're playing the game where you're switching them in and out. Once you've loaded them in, you don't need to worry about them for the rest of the game. So if you've got kids playing for a couple of hours, you only have to do it once. So all I've ended up doing was I pick up a few characters from how I used the 4 trial version or 4 timed ones, and that's kind of it's almost like an annoyance. It makes sense why they've done it, but that little trick of just keeping them loaded in. I mean, I obviously may be looking at the fact that they don't want people buying or borrowing figures and not being able to use them continuously. But then you can use the trial coins, which I think are fantastic. I think that's an amazing move. I think that's a really great introduction to get people to try them out. And I think having the timed ones like you do on the app version, I think that is a really good way they've done that. I think that's such a great thing that they've done. But yeah, just the loading in all your figures is every time just feels less like, well, I know once I've done all the challenges, I will not be doing that every time.
No, that's definitely for sure.
It's just like it's just so much. Yeah,
I was gonna say, like, I guess the headache for me, it's like, if I do have my friends come over and we play, it's the idea of having to tap every single Marvel figure I have on the base before we all play. It's a chore. It's definitely a chore to do it. But I mean, that's the only way you can have all that pretty screen with all the figures there, so you can choose from all of them. So
it's definitely, like I said, what they've done with it. I like the menu selection screen. Kind of. I mean, I used to play Mortal Kombat and Tekken and Street Fighter and and whatever, with Virtual Fighter and stuff back in the day. So I'm used to that kind of display thing with the little square. So I'm kind of that thing of selecting your characters is kind of interesting, and I like the fact of how they've done it. And I definitely can't say that enough. But I think it's just the tapping in of all the figures every single time feels a little bit kind of like, well, we want everyone to play these figures, and we don't want them to sell them, and we don't want them to be borrowing people's friends and then they unlock them. Well, you've given us the time coins already, so what's the big problem? Because if you haven't got Ant-Man or something like that, you can use those figures to use those coins anyway every now and again to use those characters. So I don't know. And like I said, I think they did that with Inside Out and Marvel Battlegrounds, where they kind of let you play, and that's kind of, to me, feels a bit like what Lego Dimensions did recently with being able to like rent characters that you want to play. And I think it's definitely a good way, and I think it's a good way for kids to kind of be able to play this, because there's too many figures for everyone to do, and it kind of unlock and it's a bit difficult.
Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true.
Yeah. I can't remember. Can you use the trial coins to do the challenges, or do you have to have the figure for that one?
For the challenges, I mean, you can use any figure for any of the challenges. It's just to unlock the toy, you definitely need the specific figure. So I mean,
is that right?
yeah, they don't really. I mean, you don't have a choice to use a trial coin on the challenges. That's only when you're doing the whole.
See, that's the thing. I've been doing those challenges, and I've just instantly loaded in the character it said on the screen automatically without even thinking about it. I never even tried to do it with another character. Never even gave it any thought at all, because I just assumed you had to do that. Well, that makes a bit more sense now, because I was thinking that that's quite a exclusive way of making you play the game, because if you haven't got those characters, you're kind of locked out of playing that content. But what you're saying now kind of puts that to rest. Of that, I think because I had the figures, I wasn't too worried about it. And then suddenly I was thinking, well, hold on, I haven't got Ant-Man yet, but I can't do that mission. But actually, I can, and that's kind of. So I'm hoping tomorrow my mail will arrive, because with the 4-day Easter bank holiday, mail just, if it didn't arrive by Thursday, that was the end of it. And Disney releasing a brand new figures and playsets on the day of a bank holiday was maybe a little bit like, oh, thank you. If you didn't get your mail on the day before, if they shipped it early and they released it on even if they sent it for you to get there on release date, you ain't gonna get it till days afterwards. So from retailers, so it's a little bit of an odd one, that one.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, generally in general, I think Marvel Battleground is a solid play set. I think it's definitely an interesting one. It is a lot of fun. I think it's been done very, very well. There's a few minor annoyances with it, and I wish it was. I just wish that story mode. I wish it almost included how they did the challenges had included something like that into the game. So you had to maybe defeat a few more people, have some mid bosses, do something a bit. It just needed a little bit more length. All the cutscenes and stuff look great, but it just didn't seem to have. I think to be able to complete the main storyline in under an hour on any playset is, and that's not rushing. I mean, I know people do speed runs on the Marvel ones, and people were charging for it because they weren't doing all the extra little missions and all the rest of it. But it did seem rather short. And I think, and that's definitely because the amount of, look how many posts we've had on the Facebook group of people going, "Are you? Is that it? Is that am I over?" And that's all I've seen in the last 2 weeks is people, just random posts from people just going, "Is the playset really this short? Have I done something wrong?" And they're actually checking to see if they've done it right. It just seems a bit odd.
Yeah, it's definitely an odd one, especially for one to be kept under wraps for so long. You expected for it to have at least some type of longevity, and yeah, it was. It's very short.
And also, it's like the other thing they made. I think back to Marvel making such a big thing of not showing off Ant-Man, and I'm sort of sitting there going, "What was the problem? He's been Giant Man in the comic book for decades.
He was Giant Man in the Paradise in 2.0. He
It's just
used to get big in there as well.
Yeah, it's just a bit like, well, what's the problem here? I don't quite get. It's like his look. This doesn't look that different to how he looked in the
It
movie. It's
doesn't.
just
It
you.
doesn't.
You could just said that you know, and they're going, oh, it looks like it's the new over. Well, the Infinity versions have never been exactly right, but I mean, it's like, what was the big secrecy over it? His foot coming down. I mean, that wasn't seemed to be. Just didn't. It's like, well, it's got no relevance to Civil War at all. You know, you teased us Ant-Man back in July last year, and I was sort of playing something. Going, I don't understand what the big hula of what it looked like. It didn't have any connection to, you know, Civil War. It didn't have any connection even to the movie. It's just Ant-Man on his own. You know, you don't think, you know, it's, I don't know, it just feels like, what was all the secrecy about? Why did we only officially get told about these characters 2 weeks before they got released? It just didn't seem to be any reason for it.
It's a mystery. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of silence. So I don't think we're going to be able to hear anything until the next.
Yeah,
that is if we hear anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, by the way, tomorrow Finding Dory's out.
Yeah.
That's what's coming next. Yeah, it's definitely been like I said, I was impressed with Marvel Battlegrounds in a lot of ways, and I definitely think the game took a step forward.
I agree.
I love that. I do think, and I really can't sort of stress that. For me personally, having an entirely new experience was actually probably the most thing I needed for Disney Infinity, because I think after Force Awakens playset, I was very kind of like, oh, these playsets really need a freshen up. They need some. And it's one thing doing things that feels familiar, but that one was so familiar that it felt a bit like lazy in terms of it. But this playset, it's great in terms of it is completely different, and it plays differently. You wouldn't even if you didn't put the figures in front of somebody and you showed them that game, they wouldn't even think they were playing the same video game. And I think that's great. And I think that's definitely the way I look at it.
No, yeah, it's beautifully done. I mean, like I said, you know, when you have people you're playing with, oh, it's just loads of fun. It's. I remember when I played it for the first time with Rob from Coin Op. I mean, we were having fun with it, and but you know, playing it solo, once you beat the story, you do the challenges, and then I mean, you can play the versus thing on your own against the computer for so long. You know what I mean? But because again, it's beautifully done, and the way the power discs integrate into the playset is awesome. I mean, it's really cool. It's just you just kind of wish you had a little bit more, at least online play. You know what I mean? But you know, oh well.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be coming for this version. I mean, in terms of this like update, I'm going to be honest. New challenges, maybe they can add an extra menu in on the back.
Yeah,
I can't see them adding any more to the story. I think that just felt like that was the end of the story. If we had any more characters, you'll be able to play in them. No, they just, you know, they're not going to add any more content to it, because it doesn't feel like, what would be the point of adding a secondary story? And if you're going to do that, tell the people before that, we know the information beforehand is not great at the minute, but they would have made a bigger deal of it if it was going to be, you know, oh, the second half of the game is coming when the third wave comes. You know, they would have had, it would have been a selling point. But I don't know. Yeah, I think they might. I wouldn't even be surprised if we don't even get challenges for the new characters. They're just slapped in on the side and they can play in them.
I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, definitely to work for it. But I love this idea that we have got a playset in March. You know, we've never had a playset, brand new content at this time of the year. You know, we're always normally in the dead zone. We're normally in the last 3 years. We've never had any content other than an extra toy box character or something at this time of the year. So I love the fact that we have got something spread out. You know, we've had this like the March rush of all these figures. Now, just going to quickly touch on some other bits from about that. Baloo is out in the UK on the 8th of April. So Baloo's another week or so away for Europe and also Australia. I know it's out in the US last week. So again, I've got a little bit more of a wait for Baloo. This release schedule for this wave has been all over the shop. And then Kylo Ren light effects figure. He's out in America, I think, on the 4th or 5th of April, and he's out out over here on the 8th of April. Though I think once upon a toy in Walt Disney World, he's out on the street. People are picking up like light effects Kylo Ren all over the place. So if you see him, he shouldn't be out. I think Amazon have only got him out up for like $9.99 if you want to pre-order him. So that's a good price.
Oh, that's a great price, yeah.
You know, so it's definitely worth doing that if you're into Kylo Ren and stuff. But that really is kind of the news. It's been a real quiet week. It kind of, I think, the post sort of Battleground release, everything just settled down. We haven't really had any leaks or anything like that. There's been no kind of news coming out. Still no official word on the app and the PC version or anything like that. That all seems to have just been, I don't know if they're just holding out for that to sort of settle down. But it's still been rumbling on. There's still been a lot of like discussion about this, now, hasn't there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's still a lot of disgruntled people right now. And it's just the idea of not being able to play the new content on, something that they spent lots of money on. Because I know a few people I've been talking to are just PC. We've been here reading about this one family who's just Apple TV. I mean, it's just it's a mess, and hopefully they'll communicate and say something at least. But I guess the sad part is like you can still go on Steam and you can still download the game. You still pay full price. I mean, it's like they're not removing it from the stores, the App Store or anything like that. And so it's like kind of feels a little icky. I mean, that's the best way I can say. And yeah, so I don't know. It's just a big mess. It's a big mess. But hopefully,
I mean, it's that
the dust will settle.
Yeah.
So
the trouble is, I think the trouble is like with the dust settling is like until it's already if I even putting out, they can put out a blog post on Disney Interactive, and we can all report on it. So we'll get to a certain audience. They can put some messages on the forum. So the official forum has really it doesn't really work in that sense because the way people respond and stuff is all very kind of controlled over there. And it's all very kind of very PC responses from everything. Well, not in this case PC, but it's getting the word out. It's like on Marvel Battlegrounds, either there needed to be some kind of bot thing on there saying that wasn't. I don't know. It just all feels like very last minute, and maybe they just feel like, the people that are using it wasn't enough for it. But yeah, you do start feeling like, well, maybe there should be a note put on Steam. It's a lot easier on Steam than doing it the Apple TV version. Like, well, they still want to flog those. They're not going to recall them all because that would be, it would cost them a lot. But you do start thinking, well, what are you doing? It doesn't seem very fair.
No, yeah, it's just the way it's advertised too. I mean, like, even somebody was like opening up their iOS version, and the ad that they had was, "Hey, get ready to play. No, get ready to rumble it in Marvel Battlegrounds." And it's like, but you're advertising on something you can't play it on. So why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And then like the PC version, they've been advertising the multiplayer showing up from the very beginning, and then it got pushed back, and then the next update, and that got pushed back, and finally they were promising it, and then all of a sudden it doesn't even show up. Not to mention none of the new content. So
yeah, it definitely kind of feels in that zone of if they're not going to do it, they needed to pull it or do something a little bit more better with the announcement for it. It still feels that thing of it all just feels very last minute, and like a decision got made, and then I don't know. It's like the iOS version, not having Blue, not having Ant-Man or Black Panther in there seems a little bit like that. Seems the oddest thing because they're sort of still saying they're supporting mobile, and they've made all this updates to pull stuff from the cloud, but and we're all speculating that web codes are gone as well. But it's like even just not having those characters on the iOS seems a bit odd as well. I don't know.
It's like they're dropping everything except console. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and like I said, I still believe that as a console game, this is what this is supposed to be. This is the console video game. I think they definitely spread themselves too thin. Reading these articles that they put up about where they were talking about the mobiles and console versions, and maybe they've had this kind of these meetings of the brains at their things and realize that they need to strategize to make games differently. It was this thing of like console game is a console game, and the mobile game is a mobile game. And Disney Infinity was slap in the middle, and it wasn't doing either of them well because the other one was affecting the other one. But dropping it mid-cycle with no news is going to leave people upset. I mean, any day you just I see it on the subreddit, I see it on the official forum, you see it on Twitter and stuff of people just going, "Why isn't it working? Why isn't it just isn't working?" Because they haven't found out yet until they go, the web code isn't working. It's like, take the web, even if the web codes aren't going to work, put a message on the screen or something.
Do they all talk like this?
I don't know what I'm doing.
Why aren't the codes working? No, honestly, I think they did spread themselves too thin. I mean, I understand they wanted to get the game out to as many platforms as possible, and that's really cool. Up until the point where eventually one of them is going to suffer, and at first console was suffering because of limitations because we had to spread it out to the other stuff, but now the other ones are being dropped, and it's a mess. But what can you say?
If they've dropped Apple TV and PC just to give us PlayStation VR at Disney Infinity, well, that might not be a bad thing. This is like another device to put it on now, so we're going to put it on that one. It's like I'm still trying to get my head around how Disney Infinity is going to look if they did. Well, all games will work with PlayStation VR, but you're sort of wondering like how would the toy box work inside of that. It's definitely going to be an interesting development, and games. I do think, just like I said, moving on console only and focusing on their strength is important because make the mobile version entirely different. But this mid-cycle drop has left a lot of people annoyed, and there's a lot of people angry, and there's a lot of people saying that I'm done with the game because you've just, and that's it. And how many people, are they gonna lose? They might be going, well, we're going to lose a few percentage of people from this, but in the long run, it will work out cheaper for us. It's almost that thing of like just looking at the numbers, going, we might lose X amount, but as long as we gain more on the other side and make it better, it counteracts at the business end. It's just,
well, I mean, the majority of the players were always on console anyways, so
yeah, it's very much. I think this is the thing. It's like some console owners are like, well, I don't quite, and like, well, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't matter, but I always view this as, it doesn't matter who did it. There is a rumbling around the Infinity community about this, and it's still rumbling on. I think it is settling down now. I think people have kind of I think it's like with anything, when it's bad news, Disney sometimes they'll go to ground and just like let it ride out, which in some ways it kind of makes sense to do that, but their silence can also be deemed that it looks bad on them as well, the other way around.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we're already used to that strategy. I mean, I think when Tron Gate happened, the backlash happened with that, and they just stayed quiet for a while before.
A while.
Well, they did. I mean, they did, and they let the dust settle, and after that, then they communicated. So.
Yeah, was it 6 months? Was it November when they went on the pedestals turned up, and then I think it was like February or something. This time last year they kind of arrived on the iPad. No, and then suddenly the Game Informer article comes along and Tron's in it. It's like, okay,
yeah.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
I still think I'm going to be honest now. It's that thing of like, I always felt like when those Tron figures come out, I was never really that excited because I brought them on the iOS version, and I was like, I'd had these a year. It had a while. Never really kind of got it. But yeah, it definitely feels. I think in the long run, going forward, it makes a lot of sense, and I do think. And like, there's been a lot of discussions coming on around about like dropping support for the for these consoles on the next run. When this NX comes out, whatever that is. There's been a lot of discussion about the Xbox 360 and the PS3 versions of whether or not, and the Wii U versions of whether or not they could support it. I think Infinity will probably be around a little bit longer on those devices. I think they're still fully capable of dealing with them. As much as I'd like them to drop the next time, I don't know if they would do. There's still a lot of families using them, and this is a family game. It's not like it's Kingdom Hearts or any of the big games that are out there that are only on the newer devices. But I think we are going to see a more divide. I think if they do still do them on the next version, there will be an even bigger divide than just an Ewok village being missing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I have this weird gut feeling that seeing the way that PC and iOS and Apple TV is all being treated, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if when 4.0 happens, 360 and PS3 will be dropped as well. I don't know.
It definitely also Microsoft, I think, are dropping support for the 360. I don't know if they've already done it or if they're doing. I think in general, their video games are still they're starting to wrap up. There's not a lot being released on them anymore. All those different sort of games are all slowly disappearing from them. They're not put. I think you're getting a lot of the games now that are just skipping that console completely. I'm thinking even this week, Day of the Tentacle that I picked up. It was PS4 and PS Vita and Steam. That was, they didn't do the PS3 version. It was just literally and if they did the PS Vita version, you'd have thought it would have worked, but it's not pushing PS3. You rarely see PS3 titles coming up on the PlayStation blog and stuff. I don't tend to follow the 360 anymore. But yeah, it just definitely feels like I think the 360 and the X and the PS3 are definitely on the endangered list. And I think the Wii U is maybe a little bit longer, depending on what happens at E3 with this NX, whatever that's going to be. The Wii U, I don't know. There's reports of that's already going to be coming. That the production's ending this year, is already ending this year for that. So it's definitely an interesting time. But you're always going to get this, where you change cycles. And I know people get upset when they go, well, it's not on their computers anymore. It's just the way video games are. Devices get dropped and picked up and they move along.
I mean, that's the industry. I mean, that's how it works. You end up losing the classic stuff, and then it becomes classic, and then people want to play it again. So who knows?
Yeah. And then we rebuy it. Yeah. It's definitely it's definitely, I think there's that kind of thing with there's been a lot of discussion, I think, with this PS 4.5 that's been rumored around, and people going, well, are they going to start going? And devices and stuff do move along, and I think they'll be moving along a lot quicker than they used to. That you ain't buying a console and having it for 10 years and still being able to play the game, because they were underpowered when they launched. So they're going to have to. The game industry is constantly pushing itself, and everyone, to push you to buy the new stuff. It's not about supporting old consoles 7-8 years down the line. Because the PS3, I'm trying to think when, and the Xbox 360, they got released quite a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It must be. I'm trying to think of when I got my PS3. Must have been a long time ago. Let's just have a quick look.
I skipped my generation, so I don't know. I still have my PS2.
Did not do the PS3?
No, I didn't. Yeah, I still have my PS2 though, because I love Kingdom Hearts. I can't. I do keep looking in the charity shop in case it's sick, because I don't know when Kingdom Hearts 2.8, whatever it's going to be at. But yeah, I do want myself getting rid of that PS2 though, because those Kingdom Hearts games were awesome.
Yeah. So, it was first released. The PS3 was first released in November 2006. So it's 10 years old. So yeah, definitely put that on the endangered list. Let's see I don't know if the Xbox 360 was before that. I'm just gonna check here now. But yeah, I would say if you are on those devices, you might want to start saving. The Xbox 360 was revealed in 2005. Yeah, and it came out in 2005, 2006. So these have been around a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say if you are playing on one of those devices, you might want to start contemplating upgrading at some point. Because we're gonna, if Infinity, I'm not saying it is going to drop on the next version, but your chances are going to get higher. I think as each year goes by, you've had 3 versions of the Infinity. I know people will be like, I don't want to get rid. It's going to happen sooner or later. But and also you get a better experience on the content, and the prices have dropped, but definitely something to be aware of. Anything else you want to add this week? Because like I said, it's been a bit quiet this week.
I'm trying to see on the Kraft macaroni and cheese website to see if they have any more figures, but I think it's just the only thing that's been leaked.
So I'm thinking next week's show is probably going to be, unless we have some major kind of information come through, I'm thinking we should maybe do a Q&A session on the next show to kind of tide us through till kind of, because I think like Alice and stuff, I don't know. There's going to be a retailer soon that's going to be wanting to kind of hit that button.
Yeah.
There's going to be, we've kind of seen everything but the base at this precise minute from the actual from the game. But yeah, so we're going to do a Q&A session. So we'll be putting out some messages on the Facebook group Infinity and Beyond, and also through Twitter and stuff. I'll be making notes of questions throughout the week, and also you can put your questions in the comments below as well if you're on YouTube, and I'm going to add them all to a list and we'll go through them next week, because it's been a while since we did one of them, and with sort of not a lot of news for the next week or two. I don't think it should be kind of quite interesting. So anything else you want to add before we sign off for this one?
Honestly, if you haven't played Battlegrounds yet, give it a chance. It's fun. If you have more than 3 people living with you, awesome, even better, because then that way you can all play.
Even if you got more than one person with a new that plays the game, it's all right.
Well, other than that, I mean, yeah, no, it's great. Have fun. Go get those new pictures. I finally got Boba Fett. That's what I was gonna say.
Yes.
I finally got Boba Fett. My collection's complete. My collection's complete.
It's time to go back into all the Star Wars play sets and play it just as him.
Yeah, well, I'm probably gonna redo my Rise Against the Empire playset because they never fixed that one feat, so I'll have to do it all.
I was playing Boba Fett in the Star Wars Battlefront in the heroes versus villains thing, and it's like, I think this is the kind of thing, like, it feels they was super. They all feel so like limited because you can't use. They sort of pull back the moves and stuff to sort of make them so overpowered. You're like, well, why can't I just keep doing it? It's like, this is the characters, like, no, you can't jump more than once, and you can only fire that flamethrower once. I'm just thinking, wow, flamethrower with the Infinity version would have been pretty badass.
No, it's true. Awesome. I mean, I love playing with him in Star Wars Battlefront. So if he would have played similarly, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, I must admit, I've seen Boba Fett was definitely kind of my go-to character for pretty much the first half of 3.0 for Toy Box, because he was a flyer. When you got Hulkbuster and Ultron, and Vision, it's not quite the same.
The only thing that kind of bothered me a little bit is like that Boba Fett wasn't automatically a flyer. Like you had to well,
I think
you had to use a couple of skill points to be able to use him to fly. But I thought
you have to do that in quite a few of them, though. You have to do that in quite a lot of them. Even like Spider-Man, you have to unlock his web slinging.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you have a flying character, they're gonna automatically fly. Boba Fett automatically has a jetpack. Does he not know how to use it? He's just running around with it on his back. Like, is it a backpack or something? Is that what it is?
It's an accessory for the first bit.
Anyways.
Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to check us out on our Patreon, patreon.com/DisKingdom. Donations start at just, and you get access to that feed, and you also get access to our DisKingdom podcast a little bit earlier today as well, as an extra thing. Help us kind of support the site. Every little bit helps. It does really make all the difference. But also big thank you to everyone that does it. So big thank you to Ethan over at silverapps.com and Magic Bang Collectors for being our sponsor again this month. And also you can check us out on our Twitter and Facebook, and also check us out at diskingdom.com. And as I said, join up with our Infinity and Beyond Facebook group as well, and join in on discussion for all video games related to Disney, Star Wars, and Marvel. Anyway, guys, we shall see you guys in a later episode. Laters.
Later, guys.
Laters.
Later.
What else? One day.